The easiest way for a beautiful bronze turkey with a crispy skin is Julia Child's cheesecloth method. I've been doing it for years and it works every time. After letting the unwrapped turkey sit in the fridge the night before to let the air dry the skin, I let it sit out on the counter on some paper towels for up to an hour while I get everything together and start prepping other things. First thing I want to do is melt at least 2 sticks of butter. Here I have about 2.5. And since my herb garden didn't give me a lot to work with, I'm putting the fresh sage and thyme that I have in the butter to infuse their flavor while the butter melts and then cools. I'm using a lot of paper towel to make sure that I'm drying the turkey as much as possible. Moisture is the enemy of a crispy skin. You may also notice that the legs are tucked into the sliced butt of the turkey. Just FYI, that's not going to hold the legs in place while it's roasting. You need cotton kitchen twine to do that. Let me show you what I do. After working the legs free, and sometimes there's even a piece of plastic in here that's really hard to get out, but you don't want to roast it with that. Then I like to do some more blotting because there's always more moisture under the legs. When I tie the legs with twine, I like securing it with a surgeon's knot. And please make sure you're always using 100% cotton kitchen twine. So if you can see what I do here for a surgeon's knot, I tuck the twine around itself twice before pulling the knot. And that will allow the twine to hold while you position things and do what you need to do before putting in just a regular knot on top of it to secure it, make sure it doesn't come undone during roasting. Cut off any excess. I've pre-mixed my kosher salt and black pepper, and that way I'm not going to cross-contaminate my spices while I'm going back and forth seasoning the turkey. I want to make sure the top and bottom of the inside of the cavity is thoroughly seasoned with the salt and pepper. And I don't stuff my bird. In fact, I usually don't put anything in the cavity other than some herbs for aromatics. Once the inside is fully seasoned, I'll grab the herbs out of my infused butter and add them to the cavity. I prefer not stuffing the turkey because then I never need to worry about salmonella stuffing or dried out white meat. Then I'm going to grab my cheesecloth, and remember this butter has been cooled. You don't want to stick your fingers in hot butter. And I'm going to let the cheesecloth soak up the butter, and then I'm going to use that to first grease the roasting rack. This will really help to keep the turkey from sticking to the rack. So don't skip this step. After that, it's time to give the turkey a full butter bath. I like to stand it up on its shoulders and do the back first. That way, when I'm done buttering and seasoning the back of the turkey, I can put it on the roasting rack and do the rest of the turkey. Now, the pro stuffing the bird lobby has probably already started coming after me in the comments. And hey, that's what comments are for. But I will tell you that Julia Child did not prefer to stuff her turkey. She liked to have her stuffing on the side and still called it stuffing, as do I. Make sure every part of the surface of the turkey has been buttered and well salted and peppered. I twist each wing behind its back so that they don't burn during cooking, and then we can lift it onto the roasting rack. Be careful here because a partially buttered 16.5-pound turkey can get really slippery. And PSA, everything that comes in contact with raw turkey or turkey juice needs to be sanitized before and after it comes in contact with it. That's why I premix my seasoning ahead of time. And that's why if I have any butter left over from this, I'll only use it to put in the pan to cook with something else. Because any turkey juice that got in there needs to be fully cooked. I love this method because it gives me an amazing turkey every time. And it's so simple and I don't have to measure anything. It just works. I should mention that I also have my oven preheating to 350 degrees. And that the cheesecloth I'm using is also 100% cotton, and I cut it big enough so that it can fit over the entire breast when doubled. And I make sure that every millimeter of the surface is salted and peppered. Sometimes I sprinkle, sometimes I pat for best coverage, especially on the wings and legs. Once everything has been bathed in butter and appropriately seasoned, I use the cheesecloth to sop up as much butter as I can before carefully placing it over top of the breast. Again, it should be doubled, and then making sure I tuck it all around the breast. Since the breast meat cooks faster than the rest of the meat, the buttered cloth will protect the meat from overcooking, and it'll keep it nice and moist. Now, Julia's original recipe says to put it in a 350-degree oven for 12 minutes per pound. But if we're going with the standard, breast meat needs to be cooked to at least 160 to 165 and dark meat to 170-75. I'm going to tell you do 10 minutes a pound and check it. Because every time mine is done, if not a few degrees over. After about an hour and a half, you want to get some tongs and carefully remove that cheesecloth. I'm also going to carefully rotate the pan 180 degrees. She's not much of a looker now, but with less than an hour left in the oven, she's going to be beautiful. Trust the process. Once you take the turkey out of the oven, check your temperature to make sure it's cooked. I mean, behold the beauty. And then just lightly cover it with foil and let it rest for at least 30 minutes. I mean, it's still very hot to carve in 30 minutes. But the molecules are hot and activated right now, and if we cut into this turkey, all that juice is going to come out. When we rest it appropriately, we get juicy meat. I hope you'll try this method because I just know it's going to work for you. Also, I've posted other videos on the thawing process for turkeys, my make-ahead giblet gravy, and all the sides as well as other tips. So I hope you'll check those out. I thank you so much for watching, and it would be amazing if you could hit the follow button if you're not already. And most importantly, happy feasting.